YouTube, what is going on? I'm going to keep this video as brief as possible, and I'm going to focus mainly on the text because I'm in conservation of energy mode. In this video, I want to discuss the importance of some form of spiritual protection when you are overseas and the importance of it because, again, this is from my solo travel ebook. You're traveling alone. You're alone, and if you don't believe in the spiritual, that's fine. But hear me out, anyways. If you're alone and you want to defend yourself and have what's the word I'm looking for? Protection, spiritual. That wasn't the word, but protection physically as well as spiritually. I know many people aren't interested in spirituality, but having lived in West Africa, where dark magic, witchcraft, voodoo, juju is prevalent, I'd be remiss not to include a section in this here. Again, I don't recommend taking drugs and alcohol when you're out and about in a foreign country as a solo traveler. And I did mention taking it out and going out into public places because those things open up your spirit and it can make you more susceptible to spiritual attacks. You need to understand that as a solo traveler, especially if you don't know anyone in the country, you're vulnerable. You can be targeted. It's good to have a form of spiritual protection, whether through a religion, a spiritual text, or more new age methods like crystals. Whatever rocks your boat. This is not a video on explaining which method to go down. At the end of the day, you should have some kind of protection. So, whether it's through the religion, I know there's crystals with like protection. What do you call it? Protection crystals and things like that. From my experience, I've found it's always good to have an artifact in your home that people don't know what it is. Obviously, in this case, it won't be your home; it'll be wherever you're renting, wherever you're staying. I remember once I was in West Africa, I bought a wooden pendant, which was an ankh, and I hung it up in my room. If you don't know what an ankh is, it's the Egyptian symbol of life. Once somebody entered the room and we were communicating, and because they didn't know what it was, they left. So, in general, what they don't understand. So, and again, I've written, I don't recommend inviting people to where you sleep or even knowing where you live. But if you must, having some kind of artifact is a good idea. And again, this depends. This depends. I did write this some time ago. So I've written here, people in Africa, not just Africa, the Caribbean as well, are certainly more spiritual than the West. So if you choose to go there, I would suggest some kind of spiritual protection. Of course, this depends on where you're going in certain places. But even in, like, for example, if I go to, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, Sin City, if I go to Miami spring break, like the forces are no longer spiritual, like the devil's like now physical. So you have to protect yourself in a different way. Personally, I've written, I keep the Holy Bible and Quran in sight in the main room. And this just reminded me of a story. I actually wrote it down here. I'm prayerful, I fast, and I read it often. I always say that if you perform righteous actions and you are living righteously, nothing bad will happen to you. From my experience, when bad things have happened to me overseas, it's always when I didn't trust my intuition or I was engaging in reckless behavior like drugs and alcohol. So I always just say I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. Like if you move with purpose and intention, which you should be doing, whether you're traveling or not, it's very unlikely that you'll be sort of in a way, you'll end up in a situation that's bad. So it's important that you ask for discernment and pray for strength of intuition and trust your higher wisdom at all times. Again, I don't want to get too off topic in this video. Here's a story. Once, when I was living in East Africa, I was staying in an Airbnb my first month, and I had a girlfriend that I met there. Obviously, I met her the first couple of days I got there. She knew it was an Airbnb. By the second month, I had found my own apartment, which is always cheaper if you're staying in a place for more than 3 months. It's better to just source your own apartment. You could stay in an Airbnb for between 2 and 4 weeks, 1 and 4 weeks, depending on how much time you have to run around and source. She came to my second apartment for the first time and she commented, like, because she was like, "Oh, that's your Bible," like that, like, because obviously we were fornicating, so I was in sin, but still I had some religious text or spiritual text. She was like, "Oh, that's your Bible," like. She was surprised, and I responded, yes. She said, "Oh, I thought it was from the Airbnb." Interestingly, She never came to my home again after that. She made up, like, she never came again, and that was the end of our relationship. And yeah, so that potentially could have exposed her true intentions. I don't know. People often ask me, don't you get bored by yourself? How do you do it? Where do you get the strength? Etc. And friend, I don't walk alone. Thou art with me. Spiritual protection, belief, and fortitude. That was the word I was looking for. I think are important. That definitely wasn't the word. The word was fortification. That was the word I was looking for earlier. But yeah, I can see the next video I'm talking about going through immigration. Yeah, let's go. That's the video.